Hey guys and gals, Dr. Kyle here with the hashtag DWZ injury report this week. So I'm going to do some quick hits on what we believe are probably the 10 most significant injuries for fantasy football. Starting at number one, Marlon Mack was one of the first to go down. Achilles tear, season-ending surgery, potentially career-ending. If not career-ending, it's career-changing. In a contract year, was going to be playing for money next year, and now he's going to be recovering from one of the most challenging surgeries that is out there for football or any athlete or sport that requires explosiveness. So T's and P's for this guy if that's your thing, because he might be fucked. But moving on, Blake Jarwin went down also with a fairly benign injury or benign mechanism of injury, just cutting off of his right leg, tore his ACL. Cowboys fan, got the Texans hat on, but Cowboys fan here. Super unfortunate. I was a fan of Jarwin's season this year. I believed he was at least going to eat and maybe crack the top 12 this year. He's a stash in Dynasty. He'll, throw him on your IR. I'll be looking to see what Dalton Schultz picks up. Also a pretty athletic guy who can be used all over the field, and the fourth, maybe fifth option in that offense. But I think we're going to see more pass attempts out of Dak going forward. Optimist here. Don't get me going on a Cowboys rant because we got a new head coach in there, but it looked like a lot of the old Garrett days with running the ball on first down. I believe more than 55% of the time, even though the 40% of the time that they passed on first down, Dak had 11.1 yards per attempt. I digress. Moving on. George Kittle, knee sprain. That one looked like it could have been ugly. He was able to go off on his own. I saw that. Felt pretty good about the situation right there. So no ligament damage, no ACL, PCL, MCL, LCL. These are the ones that we all know from watching enough football, basketball, soccer, hockey, whatever over the years. But we'll look to see what his practice is like leading up till Sunday. He's probably dealing with some swelling, some soreness, some soft tissue trauma. When I'm talking to my patients, I like to describe what the muscles around a cranky joint might be going through as sort of like whiplash. That knee was jarred into extension very quickly. Those muscles weren't expecting that. They might tighten up and protect the joint a little bit, and of course swelling. So hopefully he's got some good PTs on staff. If not, maybe he'll give me a ring someday. But yeah, let's keep an eye on him. Jordan Reed might be somebody to take a look at this week, and could be one of those big tournament DFS plays. Maybe I'll talk about that with Memphis tomorrow night. If you're in one of those DFS tournaments with 50,000, 100,000 people, maybe throw Jordan Reed in your lineup and see what happens. Moving on, Michael Thomas. So I actually, I'll pat myself on the back a little bit here, because originally when it was announced he had a high ankle sprain, of course, he, the king, Michael Thomas, believed that he'd be able to play through it. And Memphis gave me a shout out in the Patreon to ask my thoughts. High ankle sprain is no joke, guys. We saw Barkley dealt with one last year. His was also a fairly benign mechanism of injury, if I remember so. And he had to take a couple weeks off and then never really looked himself until much later in the season. So I was already a little bit concerned with just hearing that, even though Michael Thomas said he would be playing. But it sounds like he's probably a good candidate to go to IR, especially with this 3-week IR thing this year. Memphis had a great tweet about how this probably is going to benefit Kamara and Cook more so than an Emmanuel Sanders or Traquan Smith. Those are Breeze's guys. Breeze has been doing this a long time. He probably trusts who he trusts. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of Sanders, Traquan Smith, if Thomas misses more time. But Sean Payton is one of the greatest coaches in the past 10, 15 years. He's going to play to his advantages. Maybe he sneaks in a play action to Traquan. Maybe we see more Taysom Hill. Who knows? But yeah, unfortunate for Michael Thomas coming off his career year. Moving on. Lev Bell. Man, this guy's stock has plummeted over the past 3 years. Since his holdout has just gone down the shitter. Strained hamstring. Was already sort of, I wouldn't say he was on Gase's shit list going into the season, but he hadn't been used very well last year, added people this year, tried other guys out, and then here we go, and he's already finding himself on the IR, so he's going to be out 3 weeks, which I believe is smart. Let him take his time getting back. There's no need to rush a hamstring strain. He'll, it'll give it time to heal, rehab, but I'm thinking that even when he's back, unless he gets more usage in the passing game, which, mind-blowing idea here, Adam Gase. You have Jamison Crowder at wide receiver. Mims has gone to the IR. Well, Rashad Perriman, maybe use Bell in a more limited fashion as running back, but move him around the offensive scheme a little bit. That's not to say that's what will happen, but I think when Lev Bell comes back, we'll probably see a bit more of a committee than we were even already expecting, but the saving grace could be more usage in the passing game in PPR formats. Diontae Parker came into this week's game with a bit of a lingering hamstring issue, and it sounds like he aggravated it. And it's not as serious as they expected, but again, I think we're already seeing a lot of hamstring strains. The odd preseason probably starting to play into that significantly. He was underwhelming this week. I don't know how much he was shadowed by Gilmore, but this is probably one where I'm waiting to see a show-me game. Hopefully it's not his only game, but a show-me game before plugging him back into my lineup, because I got to think most people have as good or better options at this point. David Njoku left his game with an MCL sprain. MCL is the ligament on the inside, not inside the joint, but on the medial side of the knee facing the other knee. That's a fairly straightforward rehab recovery process. So to the IR for 3 weeks is perfect. If he's doing the right things, he'll be fine in 3 weeks. So hold on to him if you have high hopes for him in redraft. I imagine in redraft he's probably, unless you have an IR spot, you're probably dropping him to add a better option, because I don't believe he had the highest of ceilings in this Baker Mayfield-led offense to begin with. But in Dynasty, throw him on your IR, stash him, and hope for better days. Maybe not right out of the gate when he comes off the IR in 3 weeks, but shortly after that. Justin Jackson, the most I could find out was that he's dealing with a quad issue. I don't know if he took a helmet to the quad and he has a contusion, or he has a quad strain. But regardless, I think he's going to see a diminished role with how well Josh Kelly played in his absence. And Justin Jackson's one of those guys, we know his name because it was 2 years ago when I believe Gordon and Eckler were both out for a hot minute, and he had a game where he probably ran 12 times for 78 yards. And Justin Jackson was the next coming of Jesus or whoever, Muhammad. I don't know. Am I going to get in trouble for saying Muhammad on YouTube? But yeah, Justin Jackson, I suppose if you're in Dynasty, you could stash him, but he's probably going to be third in the pecking order with how Josh Kelly played. I also think they're probably not going to be in a rush to get him back on the field anytime soon. Chris Godwin left the game against the Saints this weekend with a head injury. I haven't found anything to confirm if it was a concussion or not, so I'd monitor practice and see what, whatever app you're on, Sleeper, Yahoo, ESPN, what the notes are saying day to day. If it is a concussion, then any setbacks leading up to Sunday, he will miss. The concussion protocol, I believe, is 6 days in a row of passing one more advanced test. So if one day he shows up and they test him and he has to go back to the day before, we're already looking at pushing him back the following week. But if it's no concussion, then maybe he's just dealing with some tight neck muscles and should be good to go to next week. James Conner avoided the high ankle sprain tag that we saw Michael Thomas get diagnosed with, but he did sprain his ankle. We know the history of this man at this point. It's unfortunate considering all of the everything he's been through. This guy survived cancer, and here he is playing out his days in the NFL, taking over for Lev Bell in that backfield, but we haven't seen a whole lot since that season. I would be I would not be too eager to get him into any lineups this week, even if he does go. Benny Snell looked very good in his absence, so if you can grab Benny Snell, that would be great. But otherwise, I'd be waiting to see what happens to Connor this week before plugging him back into any lineups. And then last but not least, my man Phil Lindsay. I got him all over the place. Got him in a dynasty league or two. Grabbed him in a lot of redraft leagues. I just liked that he was the guy in Denver the past 2 seasons, even though they were bringing in Mel Gordon. Yeah, I call him Phil and I call him Mel. This is a backfield led by 2 men who go by Phil and Mel. Let that sink in. Anyway, my man Phil, diagnosed with a turf toe. If we're going back to last year, we know how that affected Davante Adams. I don't remember if he missed time, but I think he missed time and then had a few games. This is an injury that lingers. Turf toe is strain and inflammation to the joint capsule and the ligaments of the big toe. The joint capsule is just the tissue that surrounds the joint, very close to where the 2 bones meet, and can be very irritating because anytime that toe is bent back, as in sprinting or pushing off or changing direction, you're going to be stressing that edge of the joint. I really liked Lindsay's floor for the year. I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon, and he probably didn't have the highest of ceilings where he's a guy like Mike Thomas, where if he is playing through something, you kind of have to throw him in your lineup in a good matchup knowing that he could go off. That's not a Phil Lindsay, so let's wait and see on Phil. But that's it for now this week, guys. We'll probably touch base again Saturday or Sunday as the P's, Q's, and D's and O's get flown around and thrown around. But if you need to reach me, you can find me at DWZ_DrPT. You can also just hit me up in the Patreon, tag me, or hit me up privately, and I'll let you know my thoughts on some things, and we'll figure it all out as a team, as we always do. Memphis and I will be recording the fabulous big bet tomorrow night. Maybe we'll take some victory laps. I did talk up Cardinals +7, and man, too bad I didn't have the money line there. I don't know what it was, but I got to think a money line for a team +7 was probably +400, +450. That would have been some nice cash. And then our chalk picks of the week: Josh Jacobs, Davante Adams. Those were key DFS winners this week. But I don't want to go on to that too much. So here you go, guys. Let me know what you think about the injury report, and I'll see you this weekend.